You are both a sweet dream and a beautiful nightmare. With the power of life and death in your tongue. You can be a weapon of mass destruction or an agent of mass production. It really just depends on what cause summons you and how you feel compelled to respond. Your intuitive gifts are fully activated and online. And it's about that time for you to shine in the way that only you can and only you do. That is a dream of the divine come true, and a living nightmare for counterproductive forces. What's up, everybody? It's me, Danae. I'm here with a message for you. It is Sunday, pardon me, Sunday, July 19th, 2026, 11:46 on the clock. And let's get into it, shall we? Let's see what we got today. It's a Sunday message, so you just never quite know where it's gonna go. But one thing's for sure is that I felt guided to pull from the Chosen Ones 144 deck by Maji, the High Priestess. Maji got the T, is her channel. And we're going to pull in real time with the good old black and white deck. All right. So I have no idea where this is going, but that was certainly a strong way to start. All right, let's see. As a matter of fact, I honestly don't even know how it gets any stronger, but let's see. Well, confirmation is one way. All right. This is a confirmation, a revelation, a intuitive hit. Could be strong telepathy that's being, one of your channels are being, well, I would say have already been cleansed. And what do you do to channels? Like upgrade them? I'm not really sure. The cleansing aspect, I feel, is a large part of the upgrading so that you can hear clearly and empowered, maybe. But there's something about this Ace of Swords to start that feels personal to whomever resonates. Like, it's like an integration with, this is what I was trying to think of the other day, actually, about with like, what do they call intel? What is that? What's the word that I want to hear? It's classified. Is that what I'm trying to think of? Like classified information or classified intel. It's like a closed line or secure line of sorts between yourself and the divine. That again is very signature to you, because what you are enlightened by or have an understanding of, or an understanding in this case, for sure, could be very different from someone else's. It's special, it's unique, but it's powerful nonetheless. So it's funny because the other day I was thoughtful about doing a part two, and maybe this is kind of like the other side of that message that I didn't do on Friday, I think it was. So this might be a continuation in some regard because I talked a lot about gifts that were coming really in the next week at that point, but Christmas in July was the theme and what gifts you can be expecting. And it turned out that the gift was you, and through an upgrade of your spiritual sensibility, your identity has become the gift, and the more so the gift of your own self-awareness and self-actualization as an expression of divine power, of omnipotence, of omniscience. Here it is, channeled through you in a way that you've never experienced of yourself before. So this is like heightened sensibilities here that we're talking. Heightened just doesn't even feel grand enough. It's like supercharged. But it's more so because sometimes we can get powered up in ways that, first of all, we don't even realize. That's one. Or second of all, it comes at a time when you're not even sure what to do with it. How, like, the power of life, oh my gosh, like the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, the intentions that you allow to precede your actions, or that ultimately manifest as actions or manifest in a material and physical sense. So what I was saying is, it's one thing not to even realize the power that you have and therefore you don't assert it, but then sometimes you can become aware and resist it, reject it for fear of not feeling trustworthy within yourself to use it properly and responsibly. And then there's also the other side of it, of just knowing, how gifted, how powerful, how empowered you are, but not knowing to what extent. So I feel like those are the layers that can be traversed more or less in your post and awakening of a worthiness of reception of power in the first place, to even know that you're a worthy channel, to know that the things that you sense and feel are not just coincidence, or it's not just a fluke, or things to be disregarded. Because as I said, you'll have plenty of forces that will contend and challenge what you feel with the purpose of making you disbelieve your own self or discount the validity of it. And especially when it's not necessarily something that can be fact checked or verified or proven in any evidential way, at least at first, at the onset of hearing a thing or feeling a thing. It's more sensibility in nature that you have to kind of learn to integrate with, or to allow even to integrate with you before you feel confirmed by it or validated in it. It certainly that certainly doesn't come from the outside in. It's quite the opposite. So like I said, it's like these layers of actualization, maybe divine actualization is what we're talking about here, that have been underway for quite some time, maybe for seasons, maybe for years, maybe for lifetimes. And now is the point, at least one culminating point of which you've never been before, that you finally feel secure in not just what you sense, but in how you express that, when and if you do or don't, your own discernment regarding that. And feel secure in your own ability to do so in a way that, what's the phrase that I'm hearing? Like, is appropriate. Here it is, appropriate for the occasion. So like I said in the beginning, like however you're summoned to a cause, you know, is how you respond. So almost having like the appropriate response, knowing when it's time to denounce something or literally put something to rest, kill something perhaps, and when it's an opportunity and an invitation to speak life or speak something into existence. That discernment hasn't come lightly. It's come through a great deal of trial and tribulation, a great deal of resistance, a great deal of relentless affirmation from the divine source that has imparted it to you and bestowed it upon you in the first place, or has integrated with you to express it. And then comes the part where you actually have received it, not just in fractionated disbursements or dispensations, but actually the whole of it, which is a great deal, a great surge of power and even information and all the things that come along with that, like heightened responsibility and sometimes a bit of pressure or a deep sense of duty that come with the territory. It's like somebody being confirmed. Like when I'm thinking of confirmation, I'm thinking of it like in the spiritual sense in a way, but it's something appointed, maybe anointed. Yes, anointed. What is another word? It's anointed, and because the initiation happened a while ago, the appointment came on account of your submission to that initiation, which was probably one of the hardest parts of it all, in spirit and in flesh. And now is the point, no, because the anointing had to come before all of that. So there's something still that I'm trying to maybe the coronation. Maybe it's a coronation. Let's see, let me get another one. That feels, I don't know, that feels like a very specific thing. Because here it is, it's like, I say coronation not because it's directly or exclusively related to something regal, right? But at the point of, let's say, a royal figure's coronation, they've already been appointed to the title. They've already been anointed for it in some regard, whether it's by blood or by choice, whatever it is, certainly by the divine, because it wouldn't be coming into fruition if not. The initiation practice happens, of course, as you learn, you know, as you train for holding that office of leadership and power in the first place, to kind of know, you know, how to conduct yourself before you actually take on the full responsibility of it. So it feels like the confirmation is like the last step, where it's like, here you are. This is like your, oh, and I said it's your time to shine. So it's like something about being almost like presented to the world and confirmed in a public sense, proclaimed or announced or something of that sort. Like, this is who this is finally, unto God, unto our own culture and creed, whatever that is, and for the people, perhaps sometimes even by the people. This is who holds this seat of power and authority and responsibility. And now after that point, it's like expected that everyone responds to you according to such, and also that you respond to that position and conduct yourself again by that standard and by those measures. So it's no longer a trial error. It's no longer an initiation, a training. It's no longer an interview or an election or a consideration. It's like, without a shadow of a doubt, there's some appointment that's been made where now all that's expected of you is to fully operate in that power. Certain, and with that, there's, how can I say it without projecting too much pressure? Because it's just even personally assumed that certain things that you may have done or thought or believed even about yourself, or ways that you may have even spoken or conducted yourself before when there wasn't yet the confirmation or coronation, were just par for the course of you learning and growing into your position or into your place, into your identity. But not to say that there isn't still more learning and growing and evolving to be done, but there are certain things that may be disregarded at a time when you were on your way into your actualization, that you now do away with altogether. And honestly, what I'm picking up, quite honestly, is particularly like some feeling of insecurity, or, as I said in the last message, like almost this sense of doubt and like personal doubt and self, or what was the term, imposter syndrome, like even dependency itself. Oh, this little fly just came out of nowhere. Get out of here, little gnat. Dependency on anything outside of yourself that would, of like not dependency, but validation. Because it's like at a particular point where you are being sworn in or affirmed or coronated or whatever, you're in the seat now. You may have a counsel, but when it comes down to it, there still is an expectation for you to operate in that seat of authority and assert it as your position or appointment or the expectation calls for. You no longer get to defer to superiors that don't necessarily wield the say or the influence that you do. Like, it's something about like taking full ownership of your power and really having the courage to assert it in a way that is whole, that is whole, that doesn't particularly need any validation or second opinion or even understanding from the outside in, or acceptance from the outside in. There are certain things in the most primitive, practical sense that I can relay this, that you may feel when you come into a certain frequency of intuitive nature, and dare I even say psychic capacity, because that's what this is given with the Ace of Swords and empath here. And all that I just said, like even as a prophet or a prophetess or a seer, there are certain things that sometimes can compel you to see things a certain way, and then perhaps even to speak in a certain regard or about a certain thing that you, as I said, have no point of reference for, and you may be somewhat of the first to perceive it in the way that you do, let alone to express it. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily fall on ears that are ready to accept it or receive it, or that even understand where you're coming from. And if you are perhaps in those training phases when you were just kind of getting acclimated to that voice that speaks from within, you might have been easily swayed to feel like you might be wrong, or you're off, or that your intuition isn't on point, or you're seeing something wrong, or you're misguided, or maybe even crazy. That's the most extreme, that most can get hit with. And when you're in that state, that more delicate state, you can feel compelled to coil within yourself, and maybe sometimes to not speak at all, even when you see something, or feel compelled, or just to ignore it or suppress what you sense, or be very, very careful, which you should be to some degree anyway, but careful even to a fault of how you express what you feel and what you sense, which could be not only a detriment to your spirit and the lightness that it deserves to have, but also a detriment to those that may be empowered, enlivened, or advanced by what you would have to share. Like, I know if you resonate with this, then you know what I'm saying. But the point of it is that all of that gets to be released. If you see something and you feel compelled to say something, 1207 just lit up on my phone, then that is what you do. If you feel something and you feel compelled to react and respond to that feeling, that is what you should do. At this point in time, your training, your grooming, your curating of that, your cleansing, again, of that channel, and your curating of your reception has been tried and true to the point that I'm speaking of now. Maybe not everybody, but if you can resonate, especially of the things that I said in the beginning, as in the pre-shuffle, that now is time for you to assert. Now is time for you to walk in the truth of your identity as it's already been affirmed, as you've already been trained by the best, by your own experiences and circumstances, and as you have been coordinated with the responsibility to fulfill. Okay, all right. I'm moving on. Just from that one card, oh my God, I don't think we're going to get very far today. That was the Tower, because some things that you say might be shocking. They might shake things up. Again, they might destroy some ideals. They might challenge long-standing perceptions and conditions and conditionings. It might be contrary to the status quo, and so on and so forth. But I mean, and there's also the thing where, like I said, that's why I'm clear to say if you feel compelled to speak or to respond or to react, then that's between you and your most supreme source, you know? It shouldn't necessarily be dictated. No, it absolutely shouldn't be dictated by anything outside of you that hasn't had a direct hasn't made a direct contribution to your identity. You know, for lack of a better term, it's like the folks that swear in the queen, right, or the king in this case of England, for instance. The ones that groomed him, the ones that swear him in, they still don't hold any more superior office than what the seat of the crown represents, at least what it represents. Maybe not what it actually does, but we know what that energy holds. Yeah, so it's like you wouldn't defer necessarily to your teachers or even to your supporters or your naysayers to dictate how you make decisions or how you carry yourself at the point when you have been appointed and coordinated into your position. Now it's up to you to operate in autonomy. Okay. And it doesn't mean that you can't consider wise counsel, you can't hold counsel, or and that it might even be wise to have a counsel to resource. But at the end of the day, the queen is the queen, the king is the king, the president is the president, the CEO is the CEO. You know, like when you have a certain title or even just a certain power and authority, even without title, you're expected to operate in that. No matter who's for or against. Alright, is this it? Is this all we doing? I don't think I'm gonna go across this whole board, I know that. That might really be it, guys. Who was that? The hangman. Yeah, it's like you off that. If there's here's the enemy energy. If there's anything, you know, conflicting at this point, you can securely allow it to defeat itself by its own, you know, its own intentions, its own insistence or whatever, like its own perseverance. So that brings to the point like of not really needing to be, not allowing yourself to be wary of not just competition in this case, but really certainly opposition, conflict, to the even internal conflict, okay, to what you sense is the absolute truth as far as you're concerned, as far as you know. So that means that there could be a great deal of other voices, other influences that may want to rise up to challenge your position, your authority, your decisions, your choices, your beliefs, your testimony, every bit of you to some degree. There could be a provocation to just want to fight you at every turn. And it's expected and also trusted by the divine appointer that you will stand your ground. as guided to do so. More importantly, like, just stand in your truth and in the truth that you're championing for. Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, like, I see this being like this is going to be a long-standing office. Something to me is speaking that there's going to be room for growth here. So like I was saying before, it's like you've been appointed to a position that has a certain expectation or a certain standard of operation or expression or whatever, but there's still within that going to be plenty of time for you to grow, to stretch, to flex, to evolve, to invest more into yourself. Like, it may seem that you've come to some pinnacle point of awareness or awakening or actualization, especially in the ways that are about to be abundantly, emphasis on abundantly, evident to you in your waking life, that are going to affirm this spiritual, like, imagine the spoils and the things that, the privileges and benefits that come along with being appointed to some high level position or seat of authority. There are perks that come along with that. So there's that part as well exhibited here that are going to be released to you, of which have been, again, worked for through the trial and tribulation of training, when there was not so much of a security in identity. And so now on the other side of the knowing, the affirmation, the confidence, the certainty, the assuredness, there's even more to be assumed and experienced in a tangible sense of benefit, pleasure, reward, compensation, so on and so forth. And also some unforeseeable result, or what's the right word, like trust, that you get to maintain, or to, what's the right word, to govern, first of all, but literally to, like, multiply, like a trust that almost kind of like begins to appreciates on its own, like it's appreciating in value and interest, and you could take that materially and financially, or in some other, energetic way, even your gifts enhancing, your ability to lead, and advancing your decision making, maybe even the quickness of your decision making, and your discernment being sharpened that much more. It's like something that's about to appreciate exponentially, I would say, for a long time. Like, this is a appointed position that's not just fly by night. It's not just, it's not something you can be easily fired from, especially since you have been so well trained to hold this position. It's not much that you would do to defile it anyway. And even with all the opposition against you of why you hold it, or why you're entitled to it, or whatever, again, that's of no consequence, because the energy that has bestowed it and appointed it and anointed it is above everybody's pay grade. And so with that endorsement in your corner, and with your relentless alignment and allegiance to it, there's no way that this, like, the trust that is established and manifested actually and multiplied isn't just going to ultimately, I would say like overrun its containment, if that makes sense. I don't even know why I'm saying that. But it's like a bank account. I don't even know if this is possible, but for you to like have too much money for an institution to manage or to hold in the confines of its securities and its insurances. And I mean, I guess it's possible. Like I think there's only but so much money you can keep on like Cash App, for instance, or on those like electronic type of mediums. So it's something like that. I don't know. I'm moving on because it's something like that. And it could even, like I said, be you that begins to expand beyond your human containment in a way that is astounding, like gifts aplenty, things that are start to come online or sharpen that you didn't even know you were capable of, you didn't even know you possessed, and all of a sudden it's like you do it or you express it like it's second nature because somehow it is, or it has become so, like things like that. And this is the trajectory that you're on for what, I don't even know, like they're forever in perpetuity. I don't like, it's a long time that I'm sensing. Just as much as you can continue to plant is as much as you continue to harvest within self, within the things that you work on, people that you invest in, projects. Again, however you feel summoned, whatever cause it is that summons you, there you are. And with you comes this frequency of vitality that is in some ways immeasurable and uncontainable. Like you can't really put a cap or even like project a limit onto it, because it will supersede that every time. It'll outperform that every time. This is so deep. I hope that whoever resonates like feels it. That's the High Priestess. And we know she got a lot of enemies. Just off of what she knows, what she ain't saying, what she may never tell, the secrets that she carries, the wisdom that she incubates, and the strange, peculiar way that she may go about expressing it is provocative for most, especially for those that feel at odds with that force, with devotion to divine, with relentless loyalty to light and love, unwavering loyalty to light and love that just comes ready made with the opposite and the obstinate force. That again, there had to be a training, a strengthening to prepare to manage. Because like here it is, like I said with the High Priestess, there's information that you just know, but there's also the deep responsibility to know when's the time to say it and when it's not, who's the right audience and who isn't. And also when you discern to release a thing, to detach from how it's received, understood, or accepted as well. Because sometimes it won't be at first. Sometimes it's something you could say in one season of life, you might not even understand what it fully means until years later. or seasons later, let alone for others to receive it on outside of you, outside of your experience. So it's some level of detachment that also has to be a part of that devotion, where you don't take things, not even so-called enemies, really too personally. Like, you operate in a continuous flow of grace for all things. You ain't no pushover now, and you ain't gonna let nobody walk over you, because like I said, the power of life and death is in the tongue. But whatever it is that you is really about the responsibility to be most intentional about what you actually give life to, more than it is about projecting death. Because automatically the things that you give your attention, your energy, your focus, your love to will thrive and will be vitalized. So it's more important to be discerning and selective in that regard than it is to so much worry about projecting anything obstinate, because what you in the same turn, what you don't give your attention, your life, your energy, your eyes, your love to, will be starved for it, undoubtedly. Especially if it or they or whatever is looking to indulge in any unjust way or imbalanced way. There will be a thirst and a starvation, which will ultimately lead to some demise or transformation. So it's really not much that a high priestess would or should need to do in that darker nature, except for just cast a shadow on things that just don't deserve her energy or time. And again, that's not, of course, I should say, that's not exclusive to female. But when you're in the high priestess energy, it's a certain frequency that can be embodied by man or woman. All right, one more and we out here. Ooh, look at that. Two more, I guess, and I'm taking them because the Ace of Cups was pretty pivotal in the pre-shuffle. And what this is speaking to, remember I said you can be an agent of mass production. This is exactly that, like mass production with the Eight of Wands. Of what though? Love. Simply put, we got truth, we got love. We talking about a powerhouse of sorts. Freaking global enterprise, literally and figuratively, a love-making machine. Love and light. That's what it is. The Ace of Swords, the Ace of Cups, love and light. That can't produce enough and yet overproduces in a way that compensates for the darkness. So it's like there's product aplenty, but there's always a high demand. That's so powerful. And you get to be the agent of that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You are the agent of that. Literally your own I'm saying Amazon because that's just the highest I can think of right now, but your own Amazon embodiment of love and light. Direct to seller. Same day delivery sometimes if needed. But as it is with Amazon, just to put this point out there, There's certain membership that's required for you to have access to that level of privilege. If you're not a Prime member, you don't have the liberty of free delivery or free shipping, or even same day or next day shipping with no cost. So let that be the markup on your value when you're considering, again, what you give your attention, your time, your devotion, your dedication, your wisdom, your information, your testimony, your light, and your love, hell, even your resources too. You are authorized in this seat of high authority, this highly appointed seat, let's say, to be so selective. It's actually imperative that you do. Oh my goodness, the Ten of Pentacles. That's the whole damn kingdom right there. The whole inheritance, the whole shebang. All is well in the land. This is the effect that you can have on, this is like the energy that you carry and the effect that you can impart onto anything and anyone that you so desire to. What an honor and a privilege. Oh my goodness. Somebody's got some really amazing things coming their way. This is the power and all the privileges right here. The estate, the establishment, the wealth, the influence, the support, the endorsement, the promising projections for the future, self-sustainability, love, admiration, and appreciation, and a little bit of hate too, because like they say, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping, right? But all of that, all of the perks of living through your purest expression of divine identity, with no ultra pressure to be anything less than human, to be anything more really than human through that expression, if that even makes sense. To be tempered in both truths, spirit and in flesh. And to be exalted on account of that temperance, not because you've forsaken the flesh for some idolized I don't know, like expression of righteousness, but because you've somehow learned to harmoniously integrate both polarities in your life in a way that makes sense and that is also supernatural. That's a tall order for the divine, from the divine. Someone has done it. Someone is ready to fully operate in the capacity of their full identity, and there's a lot that can be expected to enjoy and appreciate on account of that. So congratulations. I mean, congratulations. And thank you for being you and being here at this time. And in this realm and on this timeline. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.